Welcome to MSP Voice, the weekly show for MSPs by MSPs. Brought to you by Cloudberry, the #1 cross-platform cloud backup. Learn more at cloudberrylab.com. This is MSP Voice. Hello and welcome. This is MSP Voice episode number 31. Today's guest is Matthew Opyd from Proven IT. They started out, Proven started out as Proven Business Systems as a copier company, moved into MSP services several years ago, brought Matthew on, and he's now the service lead. So really great interview with him. They're doing some really cool things in the Chicago area, so definitely stick around for the interview. Housekeeping items, don't forget mspvoice.com is your source for all things MSP Voice. We do have yet another webinar in our webinar series coming up next week with VM racks and HIPAA compliant cloud. So it's kind of a theme so far in January is HIPAA focused. So we're going to talk to VM racks and understand what it is that they do for hosting HIPAA compliance. So definitely check that out. You can register at mspvoice.com, and that webinar will be January 22nd at 2 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so now let's go ahead and jump into our best of Reddit for this week. First up is kind of a PSA or a public service announcement, if you will. Basically saying that if you're an indirect CSP, cloud service provider, like most MSPs are, you can raise Office 365 tickets directly with Microsoft. So did you know that? So he goes on to kind of explain, that you don't necessarily have to go through your reseller or distributor where you bought the Office 365 licenses from in order to raise a ticket with Microsoft. It definitely can help in terms of saving time because you don't have to work with the distributor first and then they hand it off to Microsoft and then you got to go back and forth and all these types of things. There are some caveats as he's discovered. You do have to be the partner of record, the admin and all those types of things. So there's a lot kind of going into this, and then there's a lot of people commenting, in terms of after the original post, and he's actually gone back and made some edits to his original post based on what some of the comments are talking about. And then other people are talking about how, yes, being the partner of record and those types of things for the customer accounts actually helps them with additional revenue. One person said they made just over $1,000 last year by being the partner of record for their clients and those types of things. So a lot of really good information here. If you deal with Office 365, whether you buy it through Pax8 or whoever, that you can still do things directly with Microsoft. Definitely check it out. A lot of great stuff in this thread for those Office 365 accounts. Next up is a good question about, if you have all-you-can-eat contracts, how do you support line of business apps? And do you charge extra for those types of things? And, is it best effort in a lot of things? How does billing work? Should this be covered? Offer to learn the software at a lab, at a lab fee. So, different types of questions on how do you handle line of business apps. And most of the people commenting, basically say that the line of business application has to have that from that vendor, from, whoever created that line of business application. And then as an MSP, you can work as a liaison with that vendor, and keep everything updated and working. So it's not necessarily, you don't have to, what most people are saying is you don't need to learn the application yourself in terms of how to use it, but you do obviously need to provide support for it, and that really should be kind of either in your contract or when you set up your contract. These line of business applications should be specified, and it should be a requirement that they have support from the vendor, that they're paying the maintenance fees for that software, those types of things, so that everything's covered and you don't have to learn all this new type of stuff. That being said, it doesn't necessarily always work that way, but if there are specialized applications that your customers use or that they have, it may not hurt if you have a lot of customers that use a particular app, become an expert in it. So, if you specialize in a vertical, and a lot of your customers use a specific application, whether it's for legal or dental or doctor or whatever, and they all use a particular application. It obviously doesn't hurt to know it, so that way you can help out. But definitely you want these things in writing as part of the contract, so that even if it's an all-you-can-eat, that you don't get bogged down in terms of supporting an application or even training new users on how to use it. So definitely something you want to consider. Next up is an interesting question in terms of essentially a finder's fee, cut if a tech brings in a new client. So in this example, say he says IT, tier 3. That the tier isn't necessarily relevant. It's just what's relevant is the fact that the person who brings in the client is not in sales, and should they get a finder's fee for doing that? If it's a substantial client and you're the only reason they're coming to the MSP you work at, blah blah blah. How do you how do you handle that if you're a larger MSP or even a small MSP? Do you reward your techs if they bring in a new client? And a lot of really good answers. The kind of common one, and again, mileage may vary. You can do this on your own, however you want to do it. Is 1 month of the monthly recurring revenue. So anyone who brings in a client gets 1 month, monthly recurring revenue amount as a bonus or commission. And a lot of people are kind of talking about that. Others say they get that plus 10% for each month that they stay. Some do it for the life of the for the customer, for the contract. One important caveat though is you want to make sure is if that tech leaves for any reason within a specified time, do they give that up, and those types of things. Also, because the techs aren't in sales, if you do have salespeople, you want to make sure that the tech who is bringing in this customer is working closely with the salesperson to make sure that all the processes are completed and those types of things, so that things don't get left behind. But a lot of great stuff here. Sometimes you get 5% on the gross profit and those types of things. So definitely if you have techs or people who aren't in sales who are responsible for bringing in new customers, it's my view that you want to reward them. How you reward them is up to you. A lot of good suggestions in this thread, so definitely check it out. And make sure to keep your techs happy and they don't leave. Next up is how did you do in 2008 or 2018? Sorry. So year over year. With 2018 now behind us, if you've closed your books, I know it's still early in January, but is your gross revenue up? What about your profit? Those types of things. So a lot of people commenting. The majority of people are saying that they were up anywhere from 15 to 20 to 50% year over year. The first one here is up 15% over the previous year. Did 600,000 as a solo shop. That's great. Now he doesn't say what his profit was, but it's great that a solo shop can do 600K in revenue, especially if it's recurring year over year. And there's a lot more kind of going on in terms of people commenting on that specific thread and those types of things. But again, in general, most people are saying that their revenues were up, their profits were up. Some said their revenues were down, but their profits were up because they fired a particular client who was costing them a lot of money, more than what they were bringing in. So it's kind of a wash, but it's great to see that for the people who are commenting, most of them are saying, hey, things were great last year, we're up, and we're looking to grow even more this year, and those types of things. Others hired more people, more techs because they needed to handle the new business. So a lot of great stuff here. It looks like 2018 was a good year for most folks. Finally, here we go. It's IPv6 versus IPv4. It's going to be a debate that I think we're going to see going on for quite a while. So he's switching clients to IPv6 any point. Is anyone starting to move internal client networks to native v6? Interested to hear if anyone is doing this yet, and if it's been a nightmare. So, great question. V6 I think is one of those things we know it's coming. It's different, and at what point do we say give up on v4 and just move everyone to v6? And one of the first comments here with the most upvotes is, let me ask, what problem would you be solving by doing so? Because that is the question. And a lot of people point to, if you go native v6 internal, you can get rid of NAT, and that helps solve some issues that some VPN or CAPTCHAs and those types of things may have. So it's kind of one of that's kind of the one area where people think, hey, IPv6 is worth it. Others, depending on the customer size, right? If you're dealing with SMB clients, there's probably not a huge need to go to v6 at this point, just because internally inside their network, it's just not there. Others point out that not everything even supports IPv6. So you kind of have to have v4 and v6 alongside each other to make sure things work, and then that adds kind of another level of complexity. So my view is that for internal networks, we're going to see v4 for a long time, unless there is a massive business benefit to moving to v6, and that's kind of what people are saying in here too. Now, if you're going in and setting up everything brand new, from the start today, then go v6. There's not necessarily any reason not to, but in terms of switching your customers, and especially if they're small business, they probably have some older equipment, things that probably don't support v6 and those types of things. It might be more difficult, and you may not even be worth it. The other thing is to check with the ISP, the internet service provider, for those customers to see if they even support IPv6. And then someone pointed out that there are some ISPs that have IPv6 outages or issues. So it's one of those troubleshooting things that can be difficult. So great post. I think it's an argument we're going to see quite a bit of over the next several months and probably even years, in terms of when do we go to v6. So definitely check that out. And with that, we now move into our interview with Matthew Opyd with Proven IT. Take a listen, and again, mspvoice.com if you need anything or have any questions. Hello and welcome. Today I am joined by Matthew Opyd out of the Chicago area with Proven IT. Matthew, introduce yourself. Tell us a little about you and your company.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me. Yes, so we are based out of south side of Chicago, Tinley Park. That's where our corporate office is. We have offices in the Loop in downtown Chicago and north side Schaumburg area, which is probably about 30 minutes north of O'Hare. Mm-hmm. So we're an MSP. We've been doing the MSP business for about 3 years. So Proven IT started out as Proven Business Systems in 2002, and we were selling copiers. That's that was the whole business for the last 10, 12 years, obviously. And then they started getting getting clients. Obviously the MSP kind of started becoming a buzz. People started wanting to be more interested, and my COO was interested in that side of the business, so he started to grow it slowly. So I joined Proven about just over 2 years ago, 2 years and 4 months or so. And when I joined, we had 7 people in my department, and since then we've grown to 43.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it's been insane kind of growth year over year. And just to give my background, I started doing break fix stuff when I was 16. Started with an MSP, a different MSP when I was 19. I'm now 34. So I've been kind of doing this for, a good amount of time. So when I joined Proven, I joined as a tier 3 engineer and then was promoted to like service manager. Mm-hmm. So now I oversee all of our techs, which is just over 30, and our project team. So. Okay.
Yeah. So when I went to your website, I noticed there's a lot about printing, document management, even equipment services. So I imagine that because you probably already had a foot in the door a lot of those places, so it makes it easier to sell them the managed piece as well.
Yeah, that was and that was part of it too, right? So it's not the sales was not done for us, but we had the copier side had that good relationship with the client. And it was a little bit easier to go to them and say, hey, if you're interested, we also provide this service. And that's kind of how our other solutions too. We do document management with Laserfiche, and that's something also too. So,
Okay.
but over the last year, I would say over the last year, I would say that it was a little bit easier to get clients to be interested in kind of going under one vendor, right? So they don't have to have a different printer vendor for an MSP vendor. So like they only just have one, and that was a big selling point for us because we also purchased a telecom company earlier.
Okay.
I want to say in the middle of last year.
Mm-hmm.
So that, there are some of our clients that have copiers, managed network services, and phones all under Proven IT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. And you hear a lot about the the copier companies trying to get into managed services. It's
Right.
great that you guys are having success with that. So,
Mhm.
so now, you started off in break fix, and I'm guessing Proven, they probably weren't doing much of that. You probably just jumped right into the managed side, right?
Yeah, we honestly we didn't do any break fix. It was kind of all my COO saw it as a opportunity for the business to grow, and he kind of did his due diligence by meeting with other MSPs and
Okay.
why kind of getting a background is like, why are you successful? What is making your guys' business grow? And he decided that it would be somewhere where he could see a lot of growth inside of Proven, not only in with our current clients. So
Okay.
he was the one that was like, we're going to just start, let's get what we need to get, as far as like remote management services and ticketing system and stuff. And then let's get going. And I think they started with one salesperson and 2 engineers.
Wow.
And it's, that was just over 3 years ago.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I also noticed you guys don't really specialize that much in any particular verticals. You have a wide range of customers on your list.
Yeah, there was not. Yeah, that was one thing that we had talked about doing early on, but with our copier clients, kind of having the same thing. Where there isn't just one vertical that we're in. I mean, we're everywhere, I guess, as far as copiers. So that kind of what happened. It kind of grew organically. Just having our copier reps go to them and say, we have M&S if you guys are interested, and there wasn't one area of the business in business that was more interested in the other. It seemed like everybody kind of was going that route instead of having internal IT.
Yeah. No, that's great, because I know sometimes some MSPs they focus on particular verticals. Others like yourselves, you already kind of had an established business, so it makes it easier to not have to try to target a particular vertical. You can kind of cover everyone. So
Yeah.
that's great. Now you mentioned, so you have the tools in place. You've got an RMM, you've got a PSA, all those types of things. Do those tie into kind of the other part of the business, or are you guys kind of run separately as a unit?
So over the last year, we started migrating. So my department moved to a specific ticketing system. We use ConnectWise, ConnectWise Manage, ConnectWise Automate, ConnectWise Sell. We use BreakGauge for our reporting. We use Avic. We use Rapid Fire. We kind of use a lot of this, very similar to a lot of MSPs out there currently.
Yeah.
But the other side, the other business, and we call them the other solutions from our business, weren't using them. They were kind of doing, mostly just email. And my director came in, and we kind of agreed that everybody should be under the same roof. I don't know why we're not using, you know what I mean? And so I would say over the last year, we started getting all of the solutions to move to use ConnectWise Manage for all the ticketing and everything. And with our internal IT staff that Proven has, and then ConnectWise, it made it a lot easier for everybody to just start using it. And use it effectively too, because I think one of the biggest problems we ran into is knowing the capabilities of it. You know what I mean? What can it do? You know what I mean? You buy it and you start using it for ticketing, and then you realize it can do all these things. And that was one of the things that we had to kind of figure out quickly if all these solutions are going to use it. And then it's been great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's like I said, it's always good when you can kind of expand it and get everyone on the same page. So that's great.
Yeah.
So I noticed you have some high profile customers on your website as well. And being from Illinois, I'm a Bears fan, more of a Cubs fan than a White Sox fan, but it looks like he has some high profile customers out there too. Northwestern I saw in there too. So
it was kind of an interesting. So if anybody from the Chicago area knows, like, we get a lot of customers. The two main ways we advertise is company cars. So our logo is on all our company cars, and we have a giant billboard for the White Sox in the left center field, and then we have a proven suite at Soldiers Field. So,
Cool.
so so yeah, and then obviously, and then you said Northwestern, and I think we also have Rydell helmets as well. So, yeah, so I mean, those things kind of, to be honest, the Bears and White Sox literally signed on with a month of each other, and it was one of those, it was awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like all of a sudden we have a huge billboard in left center field of the White Sox, and anytime you watch a game, it's there, and it's been great. I mean, so those kind of came from the copier side, with and just encompassing. I mean, it encompasses all our business, but that's basically what our market, that and the cars have been our most of our marketing.
Okay, yeah, because that was kind of my next question about marketing, but it sounds like you guys have that covered, and not everyone, in terms of MSPs, a lot of them are smaller and they serve small business. They don't serve the big ones, like the sports teams and those types of things. So it can be harder for them to get a billboard in center field.
yeah, I think we kind of fell into that one actually, but at the same time, right? I mean, when I got here, we didn't have our marketing was our cars. You know what I mean? We people were always dispersed, throughout Chicagoland, just because we have a lot of copier clients. But then this opportunity came about, and we thought it was a good opportunity for our company to have our name out there a little bit more, and it kind of helped our business grow kind of pretty quickly. At least the M&S part of it. So
yeah. Great. So thinking about your career in services, what's the greatest part about being in managed services? What do you enjoy the most?
I know personally, I mean, as an engineer, it's being able to see the vast environments that you can deal with, right? Obviously, from a support standpoint, you want to try to cater those environments to something kind of similar, so supporting it is easier to go from one to one. But when there is no set vertical, it's a little bit, it's kind of hard to do that just because of the things that they have. And of course, when you take on new clients, they have all different technology. But, for us, we're not vendor agnostic. So we do have some of our standards that we like to use with HP, Sophos, and Meraki. And, but, when a client comes on and say their firewall is still new, we're not going to replace it. So that's something that I know for me, before I came here, I only had a limited exposure to certain firewalls because it was I was in a MSP that was strictly on site. It was it wasn't like a knock center as we have here where, everybody works here and then we don't have anybody on site unless it's, we need someone to go outside to fix something. So now that I have that kind of that environment here, I can go log into any client's environment and see a different kind of firewall switch route, anything. And I think for me, that's most exciting because you can get exposure to VMware, Hyper-V, we have Scale, we have any type of, virtualized environment. It's, AWS, Google, Azure, it's limitless. And for us, for me as an engineer, that's always been appealing to anybody to come here as well. And then as a manager, now that I'm a manager, I enjoy being able to show, since I have experience in all these technologies, I get excited to show my techs all these things and their capabilities, right? Being able to show them why we do certain things. Why do we go cloud as opposed to going on site? You know what I mean? So those are like those things now that I'm in this role is become more exciting.
Yeah. So I know, you mentioned you're a manager and you've got a number of techs, and one of the questions that comes up on Reddit all the time is about hiring. Now you're in a large metro area, so you have a lot of talent pool. Do you have any challenges in hiring? Do you have a process you go through?
My process, I hire good people. I look at, can I have a conversation with you? I actually just had an interview yesterday, and we got almost done through the interview, and the interviewer actually asked me, he's not going to ask me any more technical questions. And I said, I want to hire people that are motivated and that are driven and are good people, because I know from my experience that all the tech stuff that I learned from the job, right?
Yeah.
Obviously you can do stuff outside of learning. If I can't teach you to be a better person,
Exactly.
but it might not stick. I know I can teach someone AWS Cloud, or I can teach someone Azure, or I can teach them about VMware. But having those kind of moral, like core, of being a good person,
Yeah.
being personable, having good customer service, that for me means more than you having all these certifications, because those are things that you can learn, that you can definitely learn over time.
Yeah.
So,
The customer service, those things, you can't train to those. People either have it or they don't. So, and it's typically what a lot of people say is, don't worry so much about the technical side. Worry about, like you said, they're a good person. They can have a conversation. They have good skills and those types of things. So
exactly.
So going back to being an MSP, we talked about the best part. What's the worst part? What are the things that kind of drive you nuts sometimes?
I think it's I know doing a good job of educating your clients is always something that we can do better, right? Understanding that, if Outlook crashes once, it's not the end of the world. It is a problem that we can look at, but you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like, that whole thing of like understanding the severity of things and being able to relay that to them, like, and making them feel comfortable knowing that, hey, we're looking at it. This isn't, not that it's not an important deal, but the fact that if it crashes once, that, my Outlook crashes every once in a while too, like it happens, and having them understand that, like, it's not a fire drill. But also too is, we have our sales guys create these great relationships with these clients, but sometimes the clients would rather reach out to the sales guy than put in a ticket. Those things are things that I always find frustrating, since I'm in charge of all the techs and the help desk, is that all of a sudden I find out about an issue that could have been, addressed 4 hours ago. I just find out about it now because the person, decided to reach out to the sales rep as opposed to reach out to the service desk. So to say those are the worst things, sometimes those are the most frustrating things, I would say. And I think some of the things too with clients want, they want their solution to be a Ferrari but pay for a Honda. So, you know what I mean? So I know for me, we present them with, they want our recommendation. We give it to them and they say no. That's always tough to be like, well, it might not work in the way that you want it to. And setting that expectation, sometimes that's tough.
So I work from home and I'm looking out my window, and just as you said that, a Ferrari drove by. I cannot make this up. That's hilarious. It's my neighbor. It's a friend of my neighbor. That's the only Ferrari in this neighborhood. Don't worry. I don't have one in the garage. So talking about community and kind of reaching out to your peers, beyond Proven, are you part of any communities? Do you consider yourself part of that, or?
So I am on the MSP Reddit. I do go on that from time to time. I have posted on there from time to time. I try to follow that. I haven't in a while. The MSP Mentors site, I believe, was another site that I went to just to kind of be more familiar with like what other people are doing. I will say that I don't look at our competitors, because I know one of the things that some people get caught up is like, oh, our competitors are doing this, we should be doing that. It's like, well, we're Proven IT. We're not, whatever this other company is. We're going to do things this way. If it's something that we think would help us, let's do it. You know what I mean? And we send a lot of people out to, conferences. We just had 2 guys in Cisco Live in Cancun, good for them, for a week. So, and then they come back and they bring stuff to us. And then, so that's another way that we kind of learn more about what we can be doing as for our customers, new technology that's coming out maybe, or, a better way to secure our clients, or, whatever the conference is, Microsoft, AWS, Azure, so all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, I've listened to the podcast numerous times, and I'm starting to learn of some of the other ones that other people are on, and I definitely plan on jumping in those, because the more information for me is always better.
Yeah, no, and that's that's kind of our goal, is just hey, let's talk to some MSPs and put it out there, and hopefully people can learn something. So thinking about technology, whether it's related to your work or your home or whatever, what technologies are you most excited about today? Whether it's something now or something in the near future, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I mean, I think not having to drive my car to work is always something awesome. Just autonomous vehicles, but I think I mean, that's always something that I've always been interested in. But to relate it to MSPs, I think, I mean, it's not new technology. Cloud technology is always, for me, has always been always exciting for me. Just the advancements that every company's making, being able to move, whatever it is, move to the cloud. I feel like, it's not a fad. It's here to stay. It's going to be here for a long time, and this is the way it's going to be. I know for me, artificial intelligence, machine learning, those are also not new, but that I am interested to see, and I have been trying to figure out how can they benefit in an MSP? What kind of stuff can we use from it, or are we able to, harness that and try to make it better for our clients, whatever it is that we use? I haven't seen it really been used yet. I haven't found a best use case, but I know that at some point in time that's going to happen, and I look forward to seeing how that's going to go.
Cool. Now, you mentioned cloud. One thing I came across, Microsoft is making some new advancements in virtual desktops on Azure. I think Windows Virtual Desktop, WVD. What are your thoughts on running a desktop operating system from the cloud? I mean, obviously you're going to have a client, whether it's just a thin client browser or whatever. But do you think that's something that we're going to see a lot more of?
I hope so. I do think that that's a good solution. Yeah, no, I do. I mean, I've worked in environments where we had VDI and VMware, and found that to be, as a management standpoint, very, very like easy. We had, I think we had 115, and I'm able to send an update out one time and update all those machines at once. And have everybody up to date and whatever it is, whatever. If there's a push out for Java, if there's a push out for Adobe, as opposed to trying to do it through group policy or some other technology, or SCCM. I feel like I always look for ways to use that, right? I think one of the things that we struggle with for that is being able to sell to a client and have them understand it. I think it's a technology that is tough to understand, that like, oh, I don't have, like, it's not on my workstation, I'm working somewhere else. You know what I mean? I think I think that like being able to get through that barrier and having them understand that, like, yeah, and it's always up, you can get to it from your house, you can get to it from anywhere, I think would be way more beneficial than having to use, VPN. Not that it's not secure, but I can see it being even more secure, having it being behind a firewall already in the cloud.
Yeah. So I've just, like I said, I know, on-prem VDI, that makes sense. But when I think about, your desktop's running in Azure, it's kind of like, well, I mean, as long as my internet's working, it'll work great. So
right. That's always the challenge, right? If the client doesn't have good enough internet, then that's not a solution.
Yeah. So that's what you're excited about. What technologies are you most concerned about? What kind of keeps you up at night?
I mean, for me, it's also, I guess just outages in cloud. That always scares me, just because of generally we're pushing everybody. Hey, not pushing everybody. We're converting a lot of people from on-prem Exchange to Office 365, and it's one of those things where if they have an outage, you're like, well, there's nothing we can do about it. I think mostly though, I mean, just artificial intelligence not being able to be regulated. I'm afraid that can run away and start being used incorrectly. And I mean, I know I said that it could be something I'm looking forward to, because I definitely think so. But it's also, it can also be very bad depending on how it's used.
Yeah, in the wrong hands. Yeah. So like a lot of technologies. A lot of technologies are great as long as they're not in the wrong hands. So
yeah, no, for sure. And that's it, right? And if it can be regulated, or it can be somehow streamlined in the sense that certain things are illegal, I think we'll get better results as far as people trying to do bad. But.
Yeah. So cool. So we are now up to the rapid fire round. So
cool.
Are you ready for a quick 6 questions?
Sounds, yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right. So here we go. Apple or Android?
Apple.
Mac, Linux, or Windows?
Windows.
Amazon or Azure or something else?
Amazon.
Okay. local backups or cloud or both?
Both.
Okay. Should you always virtualize? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. And which is worse, printer support or vendor cold calls?
Printer support.
And you work for a printer company.
when I applied for this job and I knew it was a printing company, I did honestly say, like, I am not a fan of printers. But it was fun. I was applying for an M&S position, so it was mostly tier 3 support. It wasn't printers, but it was funny to say that.
I was wondering how you were going to answer that one. So, what else, before we leave, what kind of advice, tips, tricks do you have for anyone out there listening? Just kind of on the way out here, any bits of wisdom?
I think it's one or two things. I mean, I know having your base technology set. If you're going to use a ticketing system, get it set the way you want it to work. Your remote management system, understand it, see the capabilities of it, being able to utilize that so you can be more efficient. And if you're going to hire people, I mean, like I do, I think hiring people, not a number. We don't hire 50 people to fire 20. We're a little bit slower to hiring, but that's because I think we want to get to know the person before we have them join our team, right? I'd rather have good discussions with them once or twice, 3 times, whatever that is, and have them join our team and have it be a good fit, as opposed to hiring 10 people and having 3 or 4 of them quit because they don't like it. So I think, knowing your software, your remote management and your ticketing, and adding good members of your team that you can work with and that can work in a team. I think those 2 things are huge when you're starting an MSP.
Great. Matthew, thank you so much for spending time with me today, and we really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.